Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Let's thank our members first. Fulcrum members, the Overland 11B, the Foxbab members, Salami, Astropub, Diav, Justin Field, Yush, Igor Lafush, and Commander Frosty. And yeah, let's get into it. So today we are flying out a little bit of the Mirage F1, the CT variant, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it because maybe I think we are very close to the patch. Even tomorrow, maybe there were a couple of indicators that might happen, like really soon. So maybe until the release of this video, maybe it's already confirmed, and I will do a video on that as well. But still, I wanted to talk a little bit about it because I think this is going to be probably the first patch, like in, I don't know, I mean, the first time that actually top tier France was going to be capable. And I wanted to fly a little bit of the Mirage F1 just to say goodbye and farewell, and I'm never going to touch this aircraft again, probably. So yeah, because to be honest, man, the aircraft itself is not that bad, but uh, who am I kidding? It is bad. It's just a poor aircraft. It's not a very good aircraft at all, and it loses at basically everything against everything, kind of in top tier. Which, yeah, it's finally we are getting a proper top tier aircraft for France. I mean, it's not something that I expected that the Mirage F1 was actually this bad. I thought it would be kind of alright, but it is just a difficult aircraft to fly. I mean, it's not like a problem with the aircraft itself, because I think in simulator and even in probably in real life, it's capable enough at the time, you know, especially when facing inferior aircraft like a MiG-21 or something like that, in the general technology gap wise, you know. But in general, the aircraft is just complicated. I mean, in War Thunder, the main problem with it is obviously the flight performance is kind of a problem, and especially the sensors and radars and stuff like that. I think it's just a matter of the way that the missiles work. You know, the Super 530F can be a kind of a problematic one to use because of the chaff sensibility that the missile has. It's just, I mean, it's one chaff and the missile just goes for it and it's done. So that's kind of, you know, not ideal. But there are another problems. I mean, the Magic 2 doesn't have the IRCCM yet, and even with that, I mean, technically this aircraft only carried the Magic 1 initially, so if it was kind of time realistic, it would be only using the Magic 1, to be honest, because if they wanted to make a kind of, because this is kind of a like late 80s version of a Mirage F1 if it's carrying the Magic 2, to be honest, and that's kind of a weird one, but still, it's one of the only good things about this aircraft is actually the Magic 2, and because the cannons are DEFAs, so they're not great, as you saw in the last clip there, even though I only have one, so that's fair enough, to be honest, but yeah, it's problematic, you know. And the flight performance in general is just, I mean, it's not a fast aircraft. It doesn't have a lot of acceleration. It doesn't have a lot of missiles. Only two good ones. As I said, the Super 530 is just complicated. So it is a problematic aircraft. And we are finally going to get a proper, actually good top tier, which is the Mirage 2000. But keep a grain of salt on your hand there when you get into the Mirage 2000. Because even if it's going to be great, because I think it's going to be very good, I still think that there is a possibility that it's going to be just a very good aircraft, but not OP in any way. In any way, and definitely when we see MiG-29s, F-15s, Su-27s, aircraft like that, the Mirage 2000 will need an upgrade. That's just the way it is. You know, I think even though it's a very good aircraft right now, it's going to be surpassed very quickly, I think, because it is very much an aircraft similar to design. You know, it is as you saw, if you saw the video on the Mirage 2000 diving down. If you haven't, take a look. There we kind of go a little bit down on the history and the versions and stuff like that, and the performance of the aircraft. And to be fair, I mean, it's an aircraft that it is kind of to be a lightweight, very cheap aircraft to build, you know, similar to an F-16. Which means this is not the pinnacle of technology of that time, basically, you know. Not saying that it's going to be bad, even against the MiG-29 or something like that, on F-15, stuff like that. But it is just going to be like an F-16, you know. It's not going to be a very... it's not supposed to be a machine that does everything good, you know. It's a machine that's supposed to be a light fighter. It's supposed to be a MiG-21 of its time. It's supposed to be a Mirage 3 of its time. Very good at interceptions, can do a lot of ground striking and stuff like that, but it's still going to be limited in its own way, you know. It's still going to have a poor thrust to weight compared to those more modern 4th generation stuff like the MiG-29 and F-15 and Su-25 7. But yeah, so just, it's not like I'm throwing the Mirage 2000 under the bus. I say this every time on the Discord that we have in the channel, that, by the way, join us there. We have a very cool community there. But it is just a thing that I always talk about it there, that it's a problem with expectations. I think a lot of people have a lot of expectations about many aircraft, like the F-14, for example. A lot of people have many expectations that it is the best aircraft ever made, and it's better than a Su-57 and F-22 because of Top Gun and stuff like that. And people have to calm down, you know, because it's not that. It's amazing. It's an amazing aircraft, but it's not that. And the Mirage 2000 is suffering a bit from that. Not that it's not that good, but it is a problem of expectations. People are expecting the Mirage 2000 to be amazing. It's going to fix all of its problems, France's problems and stuff like that, and people had the same issue with the Mirage F1, to be honest. The Mirage F1, people had the same kind of line of thinking, and it's problematic when you do that because first of all, Wikipedia or any of these kind of sources normally are wrong, because if you read the Wikipedia page of the Mirage F1, for example, it is going to sound like it's one of the best aircraft ever made. It has like 300 meters per second of climb or something like that. It's very weird, you know. And the Mirage 2000 can be a little bit like that, but don't you fool yourself, you know. It's going to be an aircraft very similar to an F-16 would be like. It's going to be very nimble. It's going to put a high amount of AOA, but the thrust to weight, the radar, stuff like that, the missiles are not going to be as good as the Soviet and American counterparts from its time. So, as I said, compared to the F-15, compared to the MiG-29, to the Su-27, aircraft like that, or even later versions of the F-16. Obviously, I'm comparing more to the F-16 than to the MiG-29 because, in a general way, the F-16 is a more similar design to the Mirage 2000 in that sense that it is supposed to be light and cheap, you know. And the MiG-29 is not kind of like that. It is supposed to be lighter, but it's its own design. It's not supposed to be cheaper. It is cheaper, but than the Su-27, but it's not supposed to be. You know, it's not an idea behind it. It's more like an aircraft that it has its own capabilities and stuff like that. It's its own separate aircraft, basically. You know, so that's why I don't like to compare it face to face in design philosophies against an Mirage 2000, but still. And an F-16, for example, if you get the A variants, they would have basically the same principles. They would be light, cheap, and the radars are very limited at first, and it has a fly-by-wire. So it is, the design philosophy is of course, the first idea behind it is very similar. Obviously the design itself is very different, but you know what I mean. And yeah, that's why you need to expect the Mirage 2000 to be that, okay? Don't expect to be like a major kills everything OP kind of thing, like the MLD was back in the day, like the F14 was at first, you know. Don't expect it to be that. It will be very, very effective, but it is still going to be very limited in some areas. And I think even with the good missiles and stuff like that, it will be just, you know, not that good. It's going to be very similar to what we have with the other Mirages, to be honest. It's going to be very good at first, but then, maybe not the other Mirages, but it's going to be very good, but it's not going to be OP. And I think it's going to be surpassed by the other nations very, very quickly in the upcoming patches. I still have a feeling that we will see a MiG-29, F-16, F-15, stuff like that until the end of the year. You know, I have a feeling that they will push it to the 4th gen before the end of the year fully with all the nations. And I think it's just a matter of time until the Mirage 2000 will be obsolete, you know. But then we have a good part that we can come out of this, you know, which is the ability that they can actually put the Mirage 2005, you know, the 5F, which would be much more modern and a lot. I mean, it's supposed to be able to carry the Super 530s as well. So, but it has the Mikas and stuff like that. So even that, it's going to be very fun and it's going to be very modern. A bridge between the 2000C and the Rafale, if we get it, the Rafale in the future. So yeah, just keep that in mind, okay? This is obviously, it's my opinion. Maybe I'm completely wrong and it will dominate everything, but I really doubt it. I really doubt it. I think it's going to be very fun to fly it. We didn't see the exact radar that he has, but it's supposed to have TWS and stuff like that, together with a good pulse Doppler lock, 80s technology, insensitivity and stuff like that. I think it's going to be very, very fun to fly, and it's going to be very much, much, much better than the Mirage F1 was. And then the Mirage F1 can finally rest and just die a little bit, because this aircraft is just it's okay at the max. Not top tier material, to be honest. But yeah, it is a good aircraft, but you know what I mean. So I hope you enjoyed, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye guys, see ya. Hope for the patch tomorrow. Bye.